Module 6. Citing in MLA and APA. We continue our conversation on how to properly integrate ideas from your sources into your own writing. As I mentioned in the previous module, each citation style follows a specific format for citing sources, both in text and at the end of the work. Next, we will take a closer look at how this is done in the MLA and APA formats. How to quote directly in MLA versus APA. Let's examine the direct quote from the previous module and see how it looks with MLA formatting versus APA formatting. First, the MLA version. Use quotation marks just before and after the original words taken from the text, with a comma before the first set of quotation marks if you include your own words, before the direct quote. The title of the source is included after second set of quotation marks inside parentheses, but before the period. This is because this source is an online source with no page numbers. With sources with page numbers, include the page number only between the parentheses. Example, 11. If this source's author is not important, you can simply include at the end of the sentence before the page number. Example, Smith, 11. Here's the same quote with APA formatting. Looking closely, we can see that we do not include the title of the online source. We include the year of the source's publication directly after the author's name in parentheses. If we had a page number for this source, it would be included at the end of the sentence like this. Rates, page 11. Note with APA, we include a P followed by a quote to indicate the page numbers. Use PP for multiple pages. How to cite long quotations in MLA versus APA. For a long quotation, more than 40 words or more than 4 lines of prose, also known as a block quotation, the format is a bit different. Only use a block quotation if every detail is essential. Here is long quotation in MLA. Indent the block on text 1/2 inch from the left margin, where you would start a new paragraph, and leave out the quotation marks. Use a colon directly before the first word of the long quotation. Double space throughout. The parenthetical citation comes after the punctuation mark. With the APA version, the parenthetical citation comes right after the mention of the source at the beginning rather than at the end as we saw in the MLA version. The rest of the guidelines for long quotations are the same for both formats. Quoting with ellipses and brackets. Now that we've had a look at both short and long quotes in MLA and APA, it's important to emphasize that you should only directly quote the minimum amount of text necessary. One way to do so is to use ellipses to omit some words from the quote to make it more concise without changing the original author's meaning. Here's a direct quote in MLA. According to Bussing et al., for many specific indications and conditions, there is inconsistent evidence with several studies reporting positive effects of the yoga interventions, but other studies are less conclusive. In some instances, these discrepancies may result from differences between the study populations. Example, age, gender, and health status. The details of the yoga interventions and follow-up rates. Effects of yoga on mental and physical health. Here's the same direct quote made more concise through the use of ellipses. According to Bussing et al., there is inconsistent evidence with several studies reporting positive effects of the yoga interventions, but other studies are less conclusive. These discrepancies may result from differences between the study populations. The details of the yoga interventions and follow-up rates. Effects of Yoga on Mental and Physical Health. Sometimes we need to make a small change in the quote for clarity or grammatical accuracy. If we use this version of the quote from above without brackets, the sentence is not grammatically correct. Direct quotations review. To review, have a look at the direct quotes below in MLA format and decide which two are correct and which two are incorrect. First, review the original excerpt to be cited. One may expect that retaining physical fitness and improving physical functioning can have a positive effect on functional abilities and self-autonomy in older adults. Arndt Bussing, Andreas Michelson, Satbir S. Khalsa, Shirley Tells, and Karen J. Sherman. Letters A and D are correct. In B, the period needs to be moved from after adult to after the closing parentheses. In C, only the author's last name, Bussing, followed by et al., should be included when citing a work by more than two authors. Guidelines for paraphrasing and summarizing. An appropriate paraphrase should fulfill the following guidelines. Keep the same meaning of the original text without omitting ideas or adding new ideas. Differ from the original word choice, word form, word order, phrase order, verb voice, so that it is the citing author's own voice. Cite or directly refer to the source. An appropriate summary should adhere to these guidelines. Include only the most important ideas. Condense the ideas into a concise restatement. Paraphrase ideas and words using the summarizer's voice and a unique structure. Cite or directly refer to the source. Paraphrasing and summarizing review. Now let's take a moment to see if you can distinguish good paraphrases and summaries from those that need improvement. Let's start with this original excerpt we saw in the previous module. Which of the two paraphrases below needs improvement and why? The second paraphrase is in need of improvement. While it refers to the source and retains the meaning of the original, it is not written in new voice. Only a few words have been changed and the sentence structure is identical. Have a look at the two summaries of the same original excerpt. Which should be revised and why? The first one is a clear case of plagiarism because it does not refer to the source. Also, it is not written in an original voice, and it is not more concise than the original text. Signal phrases and commentary. When we introduce quotes, paraphrases, and summaries, in addition to using the correct citation format, using a signal phrase can help to emphasize that you are drawing on a source. A signal phrase is a phrase that includes a verb, such as writes or points out, and the name of the person or organization cited. Examples of signal phrases which show a neutral point of view of the ideas cited are writes, states, explains, notes, describes, according to, etc. You may also use a signal phrase to hint that you don't particularly agree with the cited ideas. Examples include suggests, argues, claims, etc. A good signal phrase encapsulates the essence of the idea you're citing, so it is important to vary your signal phrases and avoid constantly using generic ones, such as said. If the author is arguing in favor of a particular issue, use the signal phrase argue, but he or she is providing examples, then a more appropriate signal phrase would be illustrate. Commentary. Outside sources are only meaningful if you can successfully weave them into your narrative. When you quote, paraphrase, or write a summary, it is important to connect the information in the source to the rationale of your statement or argument. This can be done either before or after the quote. Explain in your own words the significance of what you have cited and integrate the citation with your own ideas. Some phrases you can use include, "What this means is," in other words, "This example illustrates," etc. Here's an example. According to Bussing et al., there is insufficient evidence of therapeutic effects of yoga, with the lack of conclusiveness of these studies possibly due to discrepancies in study populations, the specifics of yoga interventions, and rates of follow-up. It is therefore imperative that medical practitioners disclose this uncertainty when recommending yoga practice to their patients. Effects of yoga on mental and physical health. Citing images, tables, and figures. Images, tables, and figures are highly effective tools in the writing process. Authors use them to improve readers' understanding of their content, or as supporting details to share new information, or to defend an argument. Similar to direct quotes, paraphrases, and summaries, images, tables, and figures must be properly introduced and cited, both in MLA and APA. Before you embed an image, a table, or a figure, you must set the tone and build a context to justify the use of this element in your writing. This serves the same purpose as an in-text citation and should effectively prepare the reader to understand and appreciate the content of your image, table, or figure. Most importantly, be sure to include a citation right below the visual element and follow up with insightful commentary to justify the use of your visual. Here's an example. According to the New York City Department of Education, graduation requirements for students entering 9th grade in 2013 include 7 electives for Regents Diploma and 3 credits for Advanced Regents Diploma. See Figure 1. The above statement clearly prepares the reader for the content of the table and ends with the name of the figure. The figure itself may be placed toward the end of the section or at the end of the paper. Note that right below the figure, we have specified 3 bits of information: the figure number, a description of the figure, a citation of the figure. Work cited and references. In both MLA and APA, you must provide an alphabetically organized list of all the sources you have consulted in your paper, including direct quotes, summaries, and paraphrases. This list is called Work Cited in MLA and References in APA. It is shared in the last page of the paper and allows readers to quickly access the work from which your references were derived. Note that each citation style has a unique structure for how to present and organize information, so be sure to consult the latest MLA or APA citation manuals for more details on how to format the various types of sources you have used in your work. Strategies for tracking sources during the research and writing process. As we saw earlier with the scientist Jane Goodall's alleged case of plagiarism, it is critical to keep your sources and notes clear and well organized, so you do not lose track of which ideas came from which source, but also so that you can go back and refer to a source again without taking too much time. As you begin the research process, you need to choose a convenient system to efficiently save and track your sources. If you prefer the old pen and paper model, use a notebook or a notepad and include the following information for each source you have consulted: date, title, author, and the source. If it's a library book, take note of the location and call number. If it's an online source, write down the page URL. Another effective way to keep notes organized by source is to use color coding, i.e., use a designated color for each source and use different colored pens or note cards. It is highly recommended you save every source you encounter in the research process, even the ones you think may not be needed at that moment. Research is complex in nature, and you generally never know which ideas might end up in your paper until later in that process. Tracking sources electronically. Whether you're using a computer, a smartphone, or tablet, citation applications and bibliographic management software are a great way to keep track of all your sources. Most electronic databases such as EBSCO, ERIC, and Jester will automatically generate a citation for you. You may also consider one of the many online tools to do the same. bibme.org and easybib.com allow you to instantly create citations and bibliographic entries for a variety of sources, including web links, books, journals, videos, magazine articles, and photographs. Smartphone and tablet applications such as RefMe and Mendeley are another option to automate the process of tracking and managing your sources. These apps will even generate citation entries for print materials using your device camera and the barcode on book covers. This concludes our discussion on the importance of attribution and the mechanics for citing, paraphrasing, and summarizing, both in MLA and APA. With this knowledge at hand, you should now have the confidence to successfully engage others' ideas without the fear of inadvertently plagiarizing as a result of poor paraphrase or incorrect citation. In the next module, we will examine key intellectual property concepts, such as copyright, fair use, and appropriation.